The sky turned red as the first explosions shook the ground. Sirens screamed through the alien capital. Buildings of glowing crystal cracked and crumbled. The humans had arrived. No one believed they would come this deep into the Krell Empire. No one thought they could survive here. But they came anyway, and they didn't stop. Commander Valzora stood at the edge of the cliff, her armored boots sinking into the frozen soil. Her silver hair blew wildly in the wind. She was the youngest general of the Krell, chosen from birth, to be a perfect warrior. Her eyes scanned the smoke-filled sky as drop pods fell like comets. This wasn't just a battle. It was the fall of everything she had sworn to protect. She barked commands to her troops, her voice calm but firm. Her warriors moved with discipline, but fear crawled beneath their masks. The humans had pushed past 3 of their planetary defenses, already. And no one knew how. The air was thick with questions no one dared ask. Were the humans just stronger, smarter, or simply more willing to die? Zora didn't care about those answers. She only knew one thing. She was expected to win. Failure meant shame. Failure meant punishment. For the Krell, there were no second chances. Then she saw him. Through the smoke and chaos, a figure walked calmly across the battlefield. Tall, human. His armor wasn't like the others. It was scorched and mismatched, taken from fallen enemies, and rebuilt. His sword glowed with a strange blue light. He didn't charge, he didn't shout. He just walked straight toward her like she was the only thing left in the world that mattered. Her heart, trained for war and discipline, skipped. "Target him," she ordered, but her voice came slower than she meant. Her archers hesitated. He kept walking. Zora leapt from the cliff and landed with a thud. Her blade hummed as it unfolded. She had trained her entire life for moments like this. But this one felt different. The enemy didn't raise his weapon. He stopped a few steps away, meeting her eyes through his cracked visor. "You're there, Commander?" he said. His voice was low, calm, like someone talking in a quiet room, not a battlefield. Zora didn't answer. She rushed forward, her sword slicing through the air. The human blocked it with one smooth motion. Then again, and again. She attacked with perfect form. He defended with ease, but never once struck back. She growled. "Why? Don't you fight?" "I'm not here to kill you," he replied. That was the last thing she expected to hear. Around them, explosions roared. The battle raged. Her soldiers were falling, but she stood still. Blade pressed against his, breathing heavy, heart confused. She should have ended him already. He should have tried to kill her. Instead, he was holding back. A sudden blast hit nearby. The shockwave knocked her back. Her sword flew from her hand. She landed hard, her armor cracking. Before she could rise, he was over her, but not with his blade. He extended a hand. Her pride screamed no. Her training screamed kill. But something inside her, buried deep beneath layers of war and duty, hesitated. She looked up at him. His hand stayed open. His other hand lowered the sword. A Krell warrior watching this would call it betrayal. The High Council would call it weakness. But in that moment, Zora didn't see an enemy. She saw someone who chose mercy over victory, and that terrified her more than death. Zora's hand trembled as she stared at the human's outstretched arm. It made no sense. This man should have finished her. He had the perfect chance, but he didn't strike. He simply waited. The battle around them blurred into noise. For a moment, it was only the 2 of them standing still in a storm of fire and death. Her fingers hovered over his palm. Touching a human was forbidden. Accepting help from one was worse. But her leg was badly injured. Her blade was gone. She could barely move. Pride and duty battled inside her mind. Then her hand moved on its own. She took his. The warmth of his glove surprised her. He pulled her up gently like she was not his enemy. Zora stood, limping, unsure what to do next. She expected a trick, but the man didn't attack. He looked into her eyes again and gave a slight nod, almost like a bow of respect. "My name is Adam," he said. Zora didn't answer. Her voice caught in her throat. She had fought humans before, but none had spoken like this. None had shown Mercy. None had spared her. Adam turned, sword still in hand, and faced the burning ridge ahead. Your side has lost this battle, he said quietly. But you don't have to lose your life. She hated his words, hated that he was right. But most of all, she hated the feeling rising in her chest. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was confusion. Why would a human enemy show her kindness? Then a scream pierced the sky. One of her surviving officers was charging toward them with a spear. He saw Zora standing next to the human and didn't understand. The warrior lunged with full force, aiming straight for Adam's back. Zora acted before she could think. She stepped between them. The spear struck her shoulder, glancing off the edge of her armor. Pain flared, but she didn't fall. She spun and disarmed her own soldier with a sharp elbow to the neck. The warrior crashed to the ground, stunned. Adam had barely moved. He looked at her with a strange expression, almost surprised. Maybe even impressed. You protected me, he said. Zora didn't respond. Her face stayed cold, but inside, her mind was screaming. What had she just done? She had stopped one of her own. Her loyalty to the Krell had always been unshakable, yet she had just saved the enemy. Sirens echoed again. Human troops were sweeping the battlefield. Drones buzzed overhead. Adam raised a hand and waved in a circle. Moments later, the soldiers halted and held their positions. No one fired. No one approached. They were following his orders. Zora looked around. Her warriors were either dead, retreating, or captured. She had failed. Her mission was lost. But strangely, she was still alive. Adam walked beside her, slowly, giving her time to limp. You're injured, he said. You need treatment. I don't need your help, she said at last, voice sharp. You already took it, he replied, not unkindly. She didn't argue. At the landing zone, human medics looked at her cautiously. Adam waved them off. I'll handle it, he told them. Zora sat on a cold crate. Her shoulder throbbed. She looked up at the stars through the smoke-filled sky. Somewhere out there, the Krell High Council was already watching this. They would know. They always knew. And when they found out she lived because of a human's mercy, she would be punished. She didn't speak, but she knew what would happen next. Adam crouched beside her and handed her a water pack. You saved me, he said. Now I owe you. Zora didn't answer. But for the first time, she didn't feel like just a warrior. She felt human. And that frightened her more than the war ever had. The next morning, the skies over the battlefield had cleared. Smoke no longer choked the air. The fires had been put out. The war machines were silent. All that remained was ash, broken weapons, and the heavy stillness that came after a fight. No one truly won. Zora sat inside a temporary field tent set up by the human forces. Her wounded shoulder had been wrapped tightly. The pain was dull now, but the shame burned stronger than ever. She wasn't chained. She wasn't even guarded. But that didn't comfort her. It confused her more. Every part of her training said she should be dead by now. A captured commander of the Krell would never be allowed to live. At best, she should be locked in a prison ship awaiting trial. But instead, she had been treated as something else. Not as a prisoner. Not as a weapon. But as a person. Adam entered the tent, ducking under the flap. He didn't carry his sword this time. Just a tablet in one hand and a calm look in his eyes. I brought your files, he said. Your injury report. And a message. Zora didn't move. From the council? Adam nodded. They sent an answer just an hour ago. They know what happened. She looked down. Her hands curled into fists. Of course they knew. She had failed in her mission. She had been spared by an enemy. And worst of all, she had protected that enemy in front of her own troops. The punishment would be severe. Adam handed her the tablet. The message from the Krell High Council appeared in harsh red letters. No apology, no sympathy, just one sentence that hit harder than any weapon. You are hereby sentenced to death for failure in battle and betrayal of code. Zora closed her eyes. She had expected exile, maybe imprisonment. But death? Her chest felt cold. Her people had cast her aside like broken equipment. She had no home anymore, no rank, no purpose. Adam watched her carefully. "I'm sorry." She raised her head slowly. "Don't pity me." "I don't," he said. "I respect you." That word cut deeper than the sentence she'd just read. Respect. From a human. After everything. After war. After blood. "Why?" she asked. Adam sat across from her. "Because you had the power to kill me and you didn't. Because when your own warrior tried to strike me, you stopped him. And because you're still standing after everything you've lost." Zora didn't reply. She stared at the message again. Her future was gone. Her rank erased, her name disgraced, but even worse, something inside her felt free. Free and scared. "Are you going to return me to them?" she asked. Adam shook his head. "They want you dead. I don't plan to help them do it." Her eyes narrowed. "You plan to keep me like a war trophy?" "No," he said simply. "You're free to go if you want." Zora blinked. That was the one thing she didn't expect. Freedom. After war. After failure. After shame. "But where would I go?" she asked quietly. Adam leaned forward. "You're strong. You're smart. You have nothing to prove to them anymore. You can choose something else." The idea was foreign to her. The Krell didn't believe in choosing. You were born into a role. You lived in it. You died in it. But now she had no role left. Just silence. And a human who refused to treat her like an enemy. For the first time in her life, Zora didn't know what to do next, and that made it the beginning of something new. Zora sat outside the tent as the sun dipped behind the mountains. The snow beneath her boots had begun to melt, but the cold still clung to her skin. She watched human soldiers move supplies, check scanners, and repair damaged vehicles. None of them looked at her with hatred. A few glanced her way, curious, maybe, but none raised a weapon. That silence felt strange. She had spent her whole life being feared, respected, obeyed. Now she was none of those things. She was just a warrior without a war. Adam stood nearby, talking to his second-in-command. Zora could hear pieces of the conversation. "They're still fighting on the outer rim," the officer said. "But nothing like here. Central Command wants us back soon." Adam nodded. "We'll finish cleanup, then move." When the other man left, Adam walked over to Zora. "We're heading out in 2 days," he said. "If you want, I can drop you at a neutral colony. No questions asked." She tilted her head. "And what if I want to stay?" Adam blinked. "Stay? I'm no longer welcome with my people," she said. "But I'm not ready to disappear, either." He hesitated, then sat beside her on the crate. "You know, staying with humans won't be easy. Some still hate your kind. Some lost family to your war. They won't all accept you." "I don't need them to," Zora replied. "I just need purpose." Adam didn't speak for a while. The wind picked up and flakes of snow drifted in the air. "I have missions that require people who think differently," he said at last. "You're more than qualified." Zora gave a small nod. The next day, Adam handed her a data pad. "Study these. It's what we'll be facing." She opened the files. Pirate activity. Abandoned research stations. Human colonies under threat. It wasn't war, not like before, but it was still danger, still challenge, still a chance to fight for something. Later that evening, one of the soldiers approached her. A woman named Brooks. Tall, red-haired, sharp eyes. "You really switching sides?" Brooks asked bluntly. Zora didn't answer right away. "I'm not switching," she said. "I've been pushed." Brooks crossed her arms. "People don't trust easily here." Zora stood slowly, matching her height. "Good," she said. "Neither do I." Brooks gave a half-smile and walked away. Zora exhaled. She wasn't looking to be accepted. She didn't need friendship, but something inside her wanted to prove that she was more than what her past said she was. That night, she couldn't sleep. Memories of her training came back, of standing before the Krell High Council, of blood tests, combat drills, cold praise. No warmth, no choices. And now she had one. She stepped outside the tent and found Adam standing alone near a supply truck, watching the stars. "You don't sleep much either?" she asked. He glanced at her. "Used to war. The quiet feels wrong." She looked up with him. "Do you really trust me?" she asked. He didn't turn. "I trust what I saw," he said. "You had a chance to kill me. You didn't." "That doesn't make me good." "No," Adam replied. "But it makes you different." She nodded slowly. She could live with different. The stars above didn't care what species she was. They didn't judge who failed or who changed. They just burned. Bright and cold. And maybe somewhere out there something new waited, something worth choosing. The transport ship rumbled through the blackness of space. Zora sat near the front, her eyes fixed on the star map projected above the console. It had been 2 days since she left the battlefield. 2 days since she chose to follow Adam into the unknown. Now they were on a mission to investigate a distress call from a remote human mining outpost on the edge of a dead zone. Adam stood beside her, speaking to his team. "Minimal contact from the colony for 5 days, he said. "No signs of attack, no distress beacon, but no communication either. We go in quiet, secure the area, find out what happened." Zora remained silent. She had heard enough. These humans trusted Adam, and Adam trusted her. That was all she needed. For now. The ship dropped from hyperspeed. The gray planet below looked cold and broken. Massive mining drills were scattered across the frozen surface. There were no welcoming lights, no movement. As they descended, the pilot glanced back. "Place looks dead, Commander." Adam nodded. "Let's find out why." The team suited up and moved quickly once they landed. Snow whipped across the landing platform. The outpost doors were sealed but not damaged. Adam motioned to Zora. "Can you get this open?" She stepped forward, examined the alien-made control panel, and pried off a cover. Her fingers moved fast across exposed wires. Within seconds, the doors hissed open. The hallway inside was dark and silent. Zora's senses sharpened. Something was wrong, not just with the building, but in the air. The stillness was too perfect, too clean. No blood, no broken walls, just silence. They moved in teams, checking rooms one by one. Beds were made. Tools were neatly stacked. Food still sat on metal trays, half-eaten, but no people. "Where is everyone?" Brooks whispered. Zora entered the command room and scanned the logs. Her eyes narrowed. "There's no emergency log," she said. "Nothing. As if they just stopped living all at once." Adam checked the map. "There's a secondary shelter deeper underground." They followed the tunnel down a narrow lift shaft. The air grew colder. Lights flickered overhead. Zora took point. She didn't fear the darkness. She had been raised in it. Then she heard it. A sound so faint it could have been wind, but it was too regular. A soft tapping. Metal on metal. She signaled for silence and crept forward. The team moved behind her in a tight formation. Around the corner she froze. A figure stood alone in the hallway, a human child. The boy looked no older than 10. Dirty face, torn clothes, shivering hands. Zora stepped forward slowly, lowering her weapon. The boy's eyes widened with fear. "It's okay," she said. "We're here to help." He ran. Zora didn't hesitate. She followed. They twisted through narrow corridors until the boy vanished through a hidden hatch. She stopped just outside and spoke gently. "You don't have to be scared." The hatch opened a crack. The boy's voice was small. "They're still here." Zora's blood went cold. "Who's still here?" she asked. He pointed upward. "The ones who made them disappear." Footsteps echoed above. Heavy. Slow. Adam and the others caught up. Zora turned to him. "We're not alone," she said. From the shadows, something moved. Not human, not Krell. Something wrong. Its body was smooth metal but alive. No eyes, no mouth. Just a glimmer of light pulsing where a face should be. The creature stopped at the end of the hall and stared with no expression. Adam raised his weapon. "Contact." Zora stepped beside him, blades ready. The child clung to her leg. "We found the colony," she said, but something else found it first. The creature didn't move. It just stood at the edge of the hallway like it was studying them. The lights in the corridor dimmed, flickering once, then again. A strange sound filled the air. It was not a growl, not a machine whir. It was somewhere, in between, like a breathing system made of steel. Zora placed the child behind her and slowly raised her blade. Her muscles were tense. Her instinct screamed danger. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't natural. It wasn't a species. It was a creation. Adam pointed his weapon. "On my signal," he said quietly. But they never got the chance. The creature suddenly sprinted forward faster than expected. It blurred through the dark like a shadow. Zora jumped in front of the team and slashed. Her blade struck its side, but sparks flew and it kept coming. The force knocked her back into the wall. Brooks and another soldier opened fire, but the bullets barely slowed it down. Adam grabbed the child and pulled him to safety. Zora rolled to her feet, breathing hard. Her armor was scorched on one side. The creature turned toward her again. This time, it focused only on her. It moved differently than before, more direct, like it had chosen her. She gripped her blade tighter. "Come on," she whispered. It charged again. She leapt, spinning midair and slicing across its back. This time the cut was deeper. A burst of blue liquid sprayed across the wall. It let out a sharp static cry and stumbled. She landed hard, knees buckling, but stayed upright. Adam shouted, "Zora, get clear!" She ignored him. The thing turned again, slower now, sparking heavily. Zora looked into its glowing face and saw nothing. No anger, no emotion, just mission. It reminded her of herself when she was younger, cold, loyal, built to obey. Not anymore. She attacked again, striking low, then high. Each hit slowed the creature further. Brooks joined her, firing into the chest. The creature finally fell, crashing, to the floor in a heap of smoke and light. Silence returned. Only the sound of the child crying remained. Adam stepped forward. "You okay?" Zora wiped blood from her mouth and nodded. He looked at the machine's body. "That's not pirate tech," Zora agreed. "It's not Krell either. This was made by something else." The boy peeked out from behind the crates. "There's more," he said. "They came from below. They took everyone down there." Adam knelt. "How did you survive?" "I hid," the boy whispered. "I never made it to the mines. My sister did." Zora felt something tighten in her chest. She had no siblings, but she knew what it meant to lose someone. She turned to Adam. "We have to go down," he nodded. "We go together." The lift at the end of the hall took them into the mine. The tunnels below were dim and filled with strange wires, glowing blue veins that pulsed through the rock. The machines had built something deep underground, hidden from view. Zora led the way, her body still aching, but something inside her had shifted. She wasn't just protecting herself anymore. She wasn't just proving she could be useful. She was protecting the child, the team, Adam. When they reached the chamber, they saw it. Dozens of humans stood inside, frozen. Not dead, but motionless, eyes open, bodies upright, tubes ran into their necks. Lights blinked behind their skulls. Zora stepped forward, stunned. "They're alive," she said, "but trapped." Adam's voice was grim. "It's harvesting their minds." Zora clenched her fists. "Not while I breathe," she thought. The war she lost was behind her, but this battle was hers now. Zora moved carefully between the silent bodies. Each person stood upright, their eyes wide open but empty. Tubes pulsed from the back of their necks into the walls, like roots feeding a hungry tree. The soft blue lights inside the chamber blinked. In a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat that didn't belong, Adam checked the life signs on his scanner. They're stable. Brain activity is low, but it's there. Whatever's controlling them hasn't finished. Brooks frowned. What's it doing to them? Zora already knew. It's learning. Adam looked up. From their minds? Zora nodded. It's copying human thought, memory, strategy, feelings, and using it to build something stronger. Adam lowered his voice. Weapons that can think like us, or worse, feel like us. Zora stepped closer to one of the frozen miners. Her reflection shone faintly in his open eyes. She had been trained for war, built to follow orders. But this was not war. This was theft. And it made her blood boil. We have to shut it down, she said. Brooks gestured toward a glowing core at the center of the chamber. That might be the control system. Zora stepped forward. Suddenly something moved. A panel in the far wall opened. Another machine stepped out. Sleeker, taller, faster. Its body shimmered with traces of human, muscle design but no flesh. It held no weapon, yet its hands gleamed like sharpened blades. It looked straight at Zora. Target identified, it said in a flat voice. Former Krell commander. Threat priority, high. Zora's jaw tightened. It knows me. Adam raised his weapon. We hold it here. Brooks, cover the entrance. But the machine moved first. It launched itself across the room. Zora leapt to intercept. The impact sent shockwaves through the chamber. Metal screeched, sparks flew. The two slammed into the wall, blades clashing. Zora ducked as it struck, then countered with a heavy strike to the chest. This machine was smarter than the last. It dodged fast, adapting to her style within seconds. Adam fired, distracting it. Zora used the moment to sweep its legs. It stumbled. She jumped, slamming her blade into the side of its neck. The machine grabbed her wrist and threw her hard across the floor. Adam ran to her side. You okay? She coughed but stood. It's learning too fast. The machine turned again, scanning the frozen humans. It spoke calmly. You protect them, but they are inefficient, limited. Why die for them? Zora stepped forward. Because they feel. The machine tilted its head. That is weakness. No, she said. That's what makes them worth saving. She dashed forward again. This time she didn't aim for the machine's body. She aimed for the glowing tubes in the walls. Her blade slashed across the first set. Sparks exploded. The lights flickered. The machine screamed in static pain. Adam and Brooks followed her lead, blasting the cables. The entire chamber shook as power lines snapped. The humans inside began to blink. Some fell, some gasped, but they were waking. The machine rushed toward the center. Zora met it halfway. They clashed again, but now she had speed, rage, purpose. This time she didn't fight to survive. She fought to protect. Her blade pierced its chest, deep into the glowing core. The light inside flickered. The machine froze, then shattered. Zora fell to her knees, gasping for breath. Around her, the miners slowly woke, confused, weak, alive. Adam helped her up. You did it. She looked around. The chamber was quiet now. The danger had passed, but something deeper had changed. This time she hadn't just fought beside the humans. She had fought for them, and something about that felt right. The human survivors huddled near the edge of the broken chamber. Some were shaking. Others were quiet, too dazed to speak. The machines were gone. Their lights had faded, but the scars remained. Zora stood among them, covered in dust and cuts, her blade cracked and still glowing faintly. Adam walked beside her, checking his scanner. Vitals are strong. They'll recover. Zora gave a quiet nod. The fight was over. But she wasn't sure what came next. The transport ship arrived hours later. Medical teams rushed to help the colonists. No one questioned Zora, No one called her enemy. Some even looked at her with something like gratitude. Brooks clapped her gently on the shoulder. "You're one of us now," she said. Zora didn't answer, but something inside her softened. Later, as the ship broke through the planet's orbit, Adam stood by the viewing window. Zora joined him. Stars stretched across the black sky. The world below became smaller with every second. "You saved them," Adam said. "We all did," she replied. "No, you made the first move. You didn't have to. You could have walked away." Zora thought about that. She could have. But when she saw that child hiding, when she saw the miners being drained like fuel, something inside her changed. She had seen humans as weak. Now she saw them as something else, willing to feel, willing to protect, willing to forgive. Adam pulled a small device from his belt. "You should hear this." He tapped it. A message played. It was the voice of a Krell council member, cold and sharp. "We are aware you still breathe. You have brought dishonor to your rank and race. You chose to stand beside the enemy. If you return, you will be executed. If you remain with them, you will be hunted." The message ended in silence. Zora didn't flinch. "I expected worse," she said. Adam looked at her. "What now?" She took a breath. For the first time, the air didn't feel heavy. "I don't belong to them anymore. And I'm not just a warrior. I've seen more in these days than I did in years of service. I fought for something real." She turned to face him. "I want to stay." Adam nodded slowly. "Then you're part of this crew." Zora almost smiled, not with her lips, but with her eyes. The ship moved toward a human command vessel waiting nearby. As they docked, Zora followed Adam into the hangar. Officers stood in rows, prepared to debrief. Some stared at her. Whispers floated, but no one raised a weapon. She held her head high. Inside the briefing room, a high-ranking human general reviewed the reports. He looked at Zora. "You're the Krell warrior who disobeyed orders to protect human lives?" "I am," she said. "And why did you do it?" She didn't hesitate. "Because it was right." The general studied her face, then looked at Adam. "Is she a risk?" Adam answered without pause. "She's the reason we're all still alive." The general gave a short nod. "Then she stays." Zora felt something she hadn't felt since she was a child. Belonging. Later, in her new quarters, she sat alone. The room was simple, clean, human, a far cry from the sharp stone halls of the Krell. She placed her damaged blade on the table. A knock sounded at her door. Adam stood there with a small badge in his hand. "You've been officially added to the crew." Zora took the badge and looked at it, a human symbol, but now also hers. She set it beside her blade. One from her past, one for her future. She closed her eyes. The war had taken everything from her, but in losing it all, she had found something better. New beginning, a choice, a name not given by rank or blood but earned. And for the first time, Zora smiled.